Hello and welcome to A Book in 5 Minutes. My name is Lindsay Milner of silvantraining.com. This week's book is The Happiness Advantage. And it might not sound like it, but it is about how to be happy at work. It is subtitled The 7 Principles That Fuel Success and Performance at Work. So it is very much focused about work, but actually I feel that the principles that it has can easily be applied to any area of our lives. So if you want to be happy, if you want to be happier at work, if you want to be happier in your life, then the Happiness Advantage. I came across this book by accident, and I'd seen Shawn Achor's TED Talk quite a long time ago. Didn't realise that he'd actually written a book. There's one chapter in the book that actually includes the content that's in his TED Talk. It's a really good TED Talk. I'll put the link in the comments below, so if you want to take a look at that, then go ahead. But just sticking with the book for now, I've come across a lot of these principles, the things that I've mentioned in previous videos about happiness actually comes before success. We always think that, we'll be happy when we achieve this goal, when we get this latest promotion, when we get a pay rise, when we lose weight, when we reach the goal weight that we want, or when we win some competition. We always think then we'll be happy. And as I mentioned the other day, a recent interview with Tyson Fury when he won the world heavyweight boxing title and then just crashed, just had real mental health problems because suddenly the thing that he'd spent his whole life focusing on, he'd achieved it. So that was that. And I have to say, I recognise this myself because I was a mature student more than 10 years ago now. And I really loved being at university, and it was something that I had wanted to do for a long, long time. But then when I finished, when I achieved my degree, it was like, yay, I've got my degree. And yeah, I had a fantastic graduation ceremony. You're swanning about in the cap and gown and having your photograph taken. And then afterwards I was like, well, what now? What do I do now? I'm stuck. I've got to get back into work and I'm not sure what I want to do. So I recognise that as a phenomenon. And as I say, I have mentioned a few times just recently that it's been found that actually happiness comes before success. It's not that the success comes before happiness. We're not happy because of success. We're successful because we're happy. And imagine my delight when I found that that's exactly how this book starts. I didn't know where the sort of concept had come from. I'd come across it quite a few times recently, but I didn't realise where it has actually come from. But it's in here. It's kind of like in the introduction. It starts with that. There were a couple of other things in here that I was like, oh, so that's where that comes from too. So it was really interesting from that point of view to read. The 7 principles, I'm not going to list all 7 of them, but I will touch on a couple of them. One that he talks about is learning from our failures and being resilient in the face of failure and accepting failure as part of a normal life. Again, not a new concept. The other thing that I was really interested in was what he calls the Tetris Effect. And he talks about an experiment that was done in college where they got some college students to play Tetris for like hours on end, for a few days on end. And those students then reported seeing Tetris shapes everywhere. They would look at a building and they'd be immediately like, oh, can I fit it into there? So this is about focusing on the positive. If we look for positive things, we find them more easily, and we're then feeling more positive ourselves. We feel happier, we feel grateful, we look for the things that we're grateful for. Our brains are primed to look for the negative, look for the threats that our brains kind of perceive, things that our brain perceives as a threat. And so the Tetris effect, we can train ourselves to actually look for the positives. And this is where things like gratitude journals come in. So again, I was really pleased to see that that's kind of in here as one of the sort of 7 principles. Let's see if I can come up with one more. Oh yes, the other one that I use quite a lot is start small. And in here it's described as the Zorro Circle. I've never watched the film Zorro, The Mask of Zorro, but he talks in there about how Zorro is taught to fight within a small circle first, and then to gradually expand the circle until basically he's a master swordsman and can fight anywhere. So it's that principle of start with something small, start with something that you can achieve, that you can work towards. And I am actually, I said one more, but I am actually going to include another one, because again that crops up time and time again in these. And that's the 20-second rule. It's when we want to start new habits and we just find it really hard. He says that we have to make the path of least resistance, because that's what we'll go to. He talks about sleeping in your gym clothes, because that way when you get up in the morning, your shoes are by the bed, you put your gym shoes on, you're ready to go to the gym. So okay, well, I'll go to the gym then. Whereas if you've got to find your gym clothes, put them on, find your shoes, get your kit bag ready, you're much more likely to think, oh, that seems like a lot of effort. I might just have some breakfast and a cup of coffee here instead. So a lot of those principles are all in here, and it's a really entertaining read. It's very engaging, really easy to read. So if you want some practical tips for how to be happier at work, and again, I've talked about these things in the general, he does focus quite a lot on business case studies, things that are happening in the world of work. And as I say, it is subtitled 7 Principles that Fuel Success and Performance at Work. So it's definitely relevant for work, but I also think just relevant for our lives in general. So that's this week's book. Again, I'm sorry, it's because it's one that I really love. I have talked for longer than 5 minutes, but that's The Happiness Advantage, Shawn Achor, this week's book in 5 minutes. I will see you again tomorrow for another How's Work. Until then, enjoy your day. Bye.